and welcome to the Niler 9 podcast. On this episode, you're going to be listening to a live recording of our recent listening party. We're going to start doing these more regularly, I think, because I think the last one worked pretty well. We put out last month an LCD sound system, Sound of Silver listening party recording from the first, we did 2 nights where we played the album in full. And we've been doing these parties for like nearly 2 years now, maybe just over 2 years. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize this, or to realize that we could record the chats and do them afterwards and share them afterwards. I guess because now they're doing really well. They seem to be quite popular and they're selling out very quickly. So it's an opportunity to share the chat and stuff we have around the album. The whole point of the night, on the night of Listen Closely, the series and the Big Romance, is to play the record in full on vinyl on Toby Hatchett's lovely sound system there, the lovely speakers that are there. But if you don't make it into the room on the night, there's also a nice opportunity now to hear the recording from the night with myself and a guest. During the summer, it's myself and a guest because Andrea will return in the autumn as a regular co-host of the listening party and also to the podcast. Until then, I had some special guests. The last album we did on the listening party, Listen Closely series, is, of course, you can see it in your title, Music for the Jilted Generation by the Prodigy from 1994. It was released July 4th, 1994. It's time to rave to your grave. On the night we had Mango, who's going to talk to us about his recollections of the Prodigy growing up around rave and his first encounters with the Prodigy, Jilted Generation, Keith Flint, all that kind of stuff. Music for the Jilted Generation is probably their definitive album, their best single album. It has some of the Prodigy's best songs on it. Voodoo People, One Love, Their Law, No Good, Start to Dance. These are all classic songs that are worthy of any DJ set's record bag or USBs. It's really where the Prodigy became what we know them as now, one of the biggest bands in Europe. Festival headline act. You may have seen them at Glastonbury on the TV over the summer. Still an amazing live show they put on. And it is Jilted Generation is where this all starts, because not only is Liam Howlett, the producer, realized that he wants to form kind of a collective, a band with dancers and all that kind of stuff. It's a genesis of that. It's a genesis of all the things that happen, that come after, the Fat of the Land, Firestarter, all of the things that happen and that lead up to the untimely passing of Keith Flint in 2019. So for a lot of people, the 90s in Ireland, for me anyway, I think when I think of the 90s in Ireland, I think of Prodigy playing Fela, Prodigy playing festivals, playing The Point on New Year's Eve. They played New Year's Eve that night, this year, the 1994, the year the album was released, 1994 in The Point. And so I mean, I think they're just a classic of 90s rave culture. 2 years before the Prodigy released the debut album, Experience, which had been built from very fizzy, clubby raves, stabs, rhythms, and ragga samples. But the second album from the Prodigy, Music for the Jilted Generation, arrived after the Rave Summer of Love in 1988. Was truly over, and references the height of the UK crackdown on raving through the Criminal Justice Act and the Public Order Act. Jilted Generation is not a subtle record. You could mosh to some of it, and it obviously paved the way for their actual mosh-friendly smash hit, Firestarter, on the next album, Fat of the Land. We do talk about that. We talk about moshing in bedrooms. We talk about raving it up, Toytown techno, and all the things that led to the massive success of Jilted Generation. Vice magazine called Jilted Generation dumb fuck rock-raving, but it certainly opened up a pit between rave and rock for sure. It opens with the atmospheric sound of a typewriter, the start of a new story, rave, techno, breakbeat, and big beat all mixed up in this very cinematic universe. And as we discuss, there's actually quite a few film samples on this that, attempted film samples that they didn't quite clear. So we'll talk about that. We talk about the Nirvana sample, which maybe is or is not a sample. We'll hear more about that. We'll hear more about the record, and hope you enjoyed the chat with Mango. And for more Listen Closely events, look out on the Niler 9 Eventbrite, Instagram. You can join the mailing list. They do tend to set out very quickly. The current one happening in August, Jeff Buckley's Grace, went on sale this morning and sold out very quickly. So it's that kind of thing. So this is a chance to hear what we were talking about. You'll hear the start of the chat with Mango, and then we play the album. Obviously, you don't play the album on the podcast, so you can go and listen to it yourself if you want, and then come back afterwards. Because what we do is generally give the context of the record beforehand, and then afterwards give the specifics about the samples, production, songs themselves, and thoughts we had from it. So yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for blowing your earballs off there.
It's a good morning. It's a good place to start. So, Mango, hello.
Hello, how's it going, everybody?
When did you first become familiar with the Prodigy?
I was given probably a CD or a tape. No, I tell you what, the first time I was ever introduced to the Prodigy was I nearly shat my bags when I seen the Firestarter video when I was a kid.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I was like, this is my shit. But obviously I looked at a lot of it. And then I remember my cousin Anto showing me the Smack My Bitch Up video as well earlier on. He was like, look at this shit, bro. And I was like, right, okay. So I always knew that they were like mental.
And what about Jilted Generation? When did you first hear that?
I don't know. I think I probably like, because obviously I was younger when this came out. I feel like I was already getting maybe a second or third generation of like, especially like the Voodoo People riff. Like I remember one of the first raves I went to in Planet Love years ago in the mid 2000s. I remember Alex Kidd playing like hardstyle, just like really just obnoxious, loud fucking 160 shit. Yeah. And then he just broke. And then as soon as he played the Voodoo People riff, everyone just screaming. And I turned to my sister being like, what the fuck was that? And she was like, I'll show you when we get back to the van. It was like, lovely.
Okay.
So it was like, I think maybe more my generation for mixtapes. We had more of a reverence of like early 90s stuff than maybe a generation now would have for like 2010s or mid 2000s fans. Yeah. It was always very omnipresent. Even though you were listening to the trance or what new came out, you always have like, you know, Outer Space or something on a tape, or it was always played somewhere, you know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was MTV as well around when I was
massively,
when I was younger. Actually, funny you mentioned sister, because my sister's over here, and that's how I first heard music for the Jilted Generation on a cassette tape that she illegally recorded of somebody in school, possibly. Yeah, so that's how I heard it.
Breaking the law.
Same as I mean, it's part of the album, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Fuck them and their law. And also the Beastie Boys was part of that as well. I mean, that's where I heard the Beastie Boys, and that's where, you know, you hear it from your siblings, you hear it from your peers, you hear it from the people who go before you.
Yeah, and it all depends what your sister's listening to, because some people are into heavy metal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Mine was just like into pirate radio and like nosebleeds, happy hardcore Scouse House and shit.
Okay,
so that's what I was getting.
Well, okay, so how do we get to Jilted Generation? I'll give you a bit of background into what happened. So Liam Howlett is the main producer, obviously, in Prodigy. They're from Essex. So he had a hip hop group. He was a DJ for a hip hop group called Cut for Kill, and I don't think he did it for very long. But he started out as a hip hop DJ, and Cut to Kill. So that was 1989, and around that time, obviously, we're talking Summer Love, right? So around that time, the UK was big into rave. There was a lot going on, and I think Liam Howlett was swept up. He was 18, I think, at that time. So like, still a young lad. And that's where he started to get into, all right, I'm going to do something. Actually, beforehand, I was playing the Dirt Chamber Sessions, his mixtape from 1999. You can hear a lot of his hip-hop influence. Obviously, there's a lot of hip-hop samples and stuff on the Prodigy albums, and we'll talk about that afterwards. But just, the first time they ever released music as a Prodigy was 1991 on XL Recordings. Liam Howlett was just listed as the member. And here is a quote from a guy called Nick Hoggs, who signed the Prodigy to XL, told there's an Irish dance site called 909 Originals who've done lots of this kind of deep dive classic stuff. Nick Hoggs says, I'll always remember asking Liam if he had any thoughts about how to develop the project in the first meeting, and he said he hoped to have a band. He told me that some mates who were up for it and they hadn't had any rehearsals or anything, but he said he hoped it would work out. I think we can safely say it worked out pretty well. So then they released this debut EP. And then the song Charlie comes after, right? So this is, I want to talk about Charlie for a second, because we're talking about rave, right? So I was, in 1991, I don't know when I heard Charlie, but let's say I was early teens, right? There was a lot of this stuff around. Do you remember this kind of music that was just really prevalent at the time. Toytown techno is what it was called, or just basically novelty techno, novelty rave music. And Charlie was kind of part of that as well. And we hear this kind of stuff. This is Charlie from the Prodigy. Like, it had a sample of a 1970s public service announcement, like cartoon thing. And there was a lot of this kind of like Charlie says, you know, kind of buzz. So around this time, what really happened was there was a lot of this kind of music being released. And I guess when I first heard rave, a lot of what I heard was stuff like this. There's another track here called Sesame's Treat. Yeah, so this is sampling Sesame Street, right? This is called A Trip to Trumpton. So
this is a personal favourite.
Is it?
Yeah, I love Trip to Trumpton, yeah.
Okay.
I listened to this like on repeat one night because you couldn't get out of the sea. Because I was just sitting there out of the night and this just kept playing. I was like, fix that CD.
Suddenly.
So yeah, there was a lot of this kind of novelty music, right? Novelty rave music. A good example of this is,
A great philosopher once wrote,
I mean, that's classic. That's a good version. And it's only a novelty because of the he's a good, right? But you know, it was kind of like vaudeville almost. It was like vaudeville techno.
Yeah, it's like a joke in the Beano or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why I didn't really like this sound. It was like kind of edgy, but it was just like, oh, do we out pal?
Yeah. It was a bit too knowing about itself. So, this is another tune I wanted to play because I'm sure a lot of people know this. It's from 1995, so it came out the year after Jilted Generation. This was a song that was massive in my peer group. Does anyone remember this? I Want to Be a Hippie from Techno Head. This is what I thought techno was for years. Like, I was like, this is techno, right? I don't like it.
I want to be a hippie.
This was platinum on Bluetooth.
Yeah.
This was platinum on Bluetooth.
Oh, God. And then the like video and all that stuff. So this is what I thought techno was for a long, long time. Anyway, enough of that. Right, so that's I Want to Be Hippie. And that's where Charlie came in. So when the Prodigy first came out, their like kind of big novelty hit was Charlie. And at the time, Mixmag asked, did this song kill rave? And Liam Howlett said, I was quite surprised, really. He told Music Technology magazine in 1992. It wasn't meant to be a novelty record. It was meant to be an underground record because it was such a mad idea. But it did happen to launch a lot of this kind of stuff, I think, or helped encourage it at least. And so obviously then, 1992, the Prodigy Experience comes out. That has, you know, big tune on it. You know, has Outer Space on it. And like, this still sounds absolutely amazing. The first gig back after COVID that I saw was actually up in Belfast at AVA Festival. So they were allowed open just before us. So AVA Festival actually happened that year, and I went up and Optimo played, and they played this at the end, and I was like, come on. We were so back, but we weren't for a long time, really, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Prodigy Experience, you familiar with it? You know?
Yeah, like all this. This is like,
this
is after party anthems, isn't it?
Yeah,
like Outer Space, but even that novelty of like the big boing. But then when you just frame it as something that's like, oh, it's just a mad idea. Imagine having like loads of people in a rave and then it just stops and there's a big like comical spring noise happens. Yeah. And then everybody stops and dances to reggae. Like we think of it as just like amazing. But this fella was just trying to take the piss. And be like, what? Like, these cunts are dancing for like 12 hours out of no. What's going to make them go, oh, them lads were good, weren't they? Because it was all just smoking lasers and where you from, isn't it?
It was, yeah. And obviously the sample.
But the whopper still tunes like Charlie.
I mean, this is an amazing song. Like, Outer Space is one of the best songs ever made. Like, it is.
And you see his love for hip hop in this.
Absolutely.
As well. Absolutely.
And that's the thing about Liam Howlett. He was a prolific sampler of really good music. He knew his records. He knew lots of different genres. But when he was starting out with Prodigy Experience, he had a lot of this kind of stuff. Like, here's, obviously, you probably heard the sample. You know the sample. Max Romeo, Chase the Devil.
To find another another race. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Satan is a evilous man, but him can't choke sit on I man.
There's a whole generation of people who know this only from a Grand Theft Auto soundtrack.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who
which
know
is
things.
mad because there's people who know this from rave, and there's people who know this from when it was a fucking reggae tune in Jamaica.
Yeah.
This was in GTA San Andreas, and it was only really put there because the lads who were making it were all boppers from Glasgow who clearly loved this fucking tune.
Yeah.
And were like, get that in, that's a bit of crack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's still pushing that down. So then when you're the young fella and you hear this tune, you don't know Prodigy are like you grew up with them. You know that tune because you were fucking stoned out. You've been playing fucking San Andreas.
Yeah.
You were bopping along to that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's Prodigy that's the true line of all of them things.
Yeah. And like, so around this time, like Experience, it's fair to say that Liam Howlett gets a bit disillusioned with what's going on around him in terms of rave music. He says he was kind of I remember standing on stage in Scotland at a rave and it just felt silly. He told Clash Magazine in 2014, I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm not into this. It's now so far from what it was. That made me want to do something different. Which brings us to Jilted Generation, right? So Jilted Generation obviously has absolutely classic tracks on it. It has songs as classic as, Out of Space, but also Their Law is a good example. Poison, No Good Start to Dance. Like, I can't wait to hear these now tonight. But the album was different, right? It was different than Experience that came before Mango, right?
This is like the first time I think there's a heavy metal rave album.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking to Colin beforehand. He said the same thing. Yeah,
Like
he united the heavy metalers and the ravers.
At the cover work, like that's something you'd see like Pantera over or something like that. It's completely like that's not Charlie or reggae or that. That's like this is gonna fucking like your ma's gonna hate it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Them albums.
Yeah, and there's definitely like a part of it where he's trying to do something different, and in a way. A lot of when I was listening back the last few weeks, what I hear in Jilted Generation is the sound of the Matrix. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
it's on Hackers, isn't it?
4 years beforehand,
the Planet. That's on it, isn't it? One Love and all. Yeah, it's on that. Like when Americans are dancing in movies sometimes, and they're at a rave, and it doesn't sound like any rave you've ever been to. It's kind of this kind of music where they're like, is it fucking techno or I don't know. It's like
they don't really like. This is why we have EDM now.
That's it's a weird album. The whole thing's just a metal album, isn't it? Really,
it's got punk, it's got metal, it's got breakbeat,
hip hop and all that. But even like the bridges, are not even the bridges, the guitar, the riffs and shit like that, and the samples and stuff like that. Like nobody else is really going for that. A lot of people were still in rave or going for like novelty or like weird drums or reggae, or they were like tasting back to like disco and soul and like as much acapellas as they could get. Like, and this was a bit more like. Them mad cunts over there banging their heads and doing the Beavis and Butthead. What if we could get them dancing?
Yeah.
Like this is like even people who hate dance music, love this shit. It's like Eminem and Beastie Boys and stuff like that. People who don't, they can accept this one.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I could bring people like the shit that Howlett loves. You could play for people who love the Prodigy and they might not be into it, but people who like are like bands of music, Prodigy, Public Enemy, bands like this where they're like, no, that just crosses.
Yeah,
all
and
of
like when this came out, we're talking like Rage Against the Machine was out. Like the punk spirit of Public Enemy is in this as well, so you can kind of hear all that. But the other thing that was happening at the time is, and take down the album there, you just open that and show the people the inlay because it's incredible. Yeah, this is the thing that defines a lot of what happens with the Jilted Generation and the vibe around it. Is the UK government were cracking down on illegal raves. This is a depiction of a very nice.
It's something like you'd find in your cousin's wall, isn't it?
It's class. Yeah, but it's so different than the cover as well.
No, it's deadly.
Like the cover looks like the Matrix, and that looks like it's kind of like the Tolkien version of the Matrix.
Yeah, but even how your man's dressed and all, like there's no.
Well, he's dressed like a rave. He's not dressed like a rave.
That looks like a man from fucking System of a Down with a big mad chin beard and all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's a machete in his hand.
So.
They're not like there's no day glow on this at all. It's very like De La Soul's second album where they were like, see all that hippie shit?
Yeah, we're throwing that out.
You better pay attention to this now because we're serious artists.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with this. That's how you beat the second album syndrome.
Even the album starts with a kind of a voice that says, I'm gonna take this underground, There's a lot of and this is because the Criminal Justice Act in the UK around this time was cracking down on illegal raves. That is part of it. That's what the song Their Law is about.
And Liam talked about at some point saying what he wanted to do was like call all the albums after individual offenses in the UK. So he started with like Break and Enter, and then he kind of gave up after that. But anyway, he tried briefly. But you know, the spirit of that is there, and that's the punk spirit, right? And that's what we're gonna go and listen to now. So the Criminal Justice Act gave police the power to shut down events featuring music that characterized the emission of a succession of repetitive beats. So one band who tried to get around that, or a duo from Warp Records, Autechra, released a record where the album's beats were not repetitive. If anyone knows Autechra, you will definitely know that's their vibe. So what we do is we're going to play the record because it's an hour and 15 minutes. It's long, it's deep. There's long songs, and we're going to come back and talk about it afterwards. So enjoy, enjoy the record. And thanks, Mango, for being here, and thank you for being here.
Enjoy.
So, I've decided to take my work back underground to stop it falling into the wrong hands.
You rave to your grave. Thank you for joining us for the music for the Jilted Generation listening party. When I first picked it, I didn't realize it was an hour and 16 minutes. You do feel it sometimes there a little bit, just because it's that is called, that last side is called the Narcotic Suite, 3 kilos, Skyline, and Claustrophobic Sting. It finishes with a bang anyway, but look, we heard some absolute bangers there, right? I wanted to briefly talk, because we were just talking there about the music videos, and like, you know, this is unusual for a dance act in the early 90s to be a band, you know? I mean, they were so cool when they came out. The music videos were class. The ones that was a No Good Start to Dance, the black and white one.
Yeah,
where they're like,
I was saying it looked like a 9 Inch Nails video.
Yeah.
And I was comparing that, like, on this album, you can see their faces, and they're like very much like, this is who we are. This is, we're the band. This is what we're doing. And you can look at us, where we were looking at like everybody in the place from the back. I don't know if people can see it, but
it's just kind of like they're in the club.
It's whacked out visuals, and it was like, you think of the charity video and stuff. There was overlays. It was like, it wasn't about them. It was about the audio and visuals as well. And then they were like, right, actually, we're a band. Look how cool we are.
Yeah, that's it.
We took photographs in black and white.
So I never actually named out the members, but like obviously Liam Howlett, Keith Flint, Leroy Thornhill, Maxim Reality. And the funny thing about Maxim is, like we were talking there, you know, he does such a good job of being a presence that you kind of don't realize I didn't realize for years. I was like, he doesn't actually do much.
There's 2 of them there that aren't even credited on this album. I mean,
yeah, like, well, the dancers, right? That was the thing, and that was so unusual.
He's on the back of that, and he didn't do a fucking tap.
Yeah, he was the first one to tap out, I think, literally.
Yeah,
like he was like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. When I put up that we were announcing that we were doing this, you may have seen the Fela 95 video on YouTube. 34 minutes of that is so worth watching. It's great crack. Keep getting into the crowd, all that stuff. It's amazing. And that's the other thing of that. Really, this is where the Prodigy became what we know what they are, which is an amazing live act. You may have been watching recently the Glastonbury set. Their light show is incredible now. It's absolutely unreal. And obviously a lot has happened since then. We're talking, you know, there's 2 of them left now. Like Keith Flint passed away 2019, and they do a beautiful tribute to him in a way that I think, you know, obviously Jilted Generation, what comes next is, you can hear what comes next. The mosh. You were talking about moshing, right? Firestarter comes next, and Keith Flint and all of that, and that's like the coolest shit ever. I remember actually, Ali, or you remember this, when we had a Spanish student one year, and I remember distinctly. I think about this every now and again because it's like I was so into Firestarter. I remember me and my pals in a bedroom in the house moshing to it, and then seeing the Spanish student go by, and he was like, "What the fuck's going on there?" You know what I mean? I was like, I don't think he liked Prodigy. It was fine. But, obviously what came next was Fat of the Land, an absolutely amazing record as well. Couple of duds in there. The one with the Cooler Shaker lad. Not the best.
It's
Not
got
the
the
best.
hits though, really.
It does, yeah. I mean, like, Smack My Bitch Up, Diesel Power, Cool Keith, Minefields. I was enjoying that earlier on.
This was a blowout success.
Yeah.
Of XL being like, let's put something weird on the label like they always do. They're like, who's the weird guy or whatever the fuck? And then they did that. And then this comes along and No Good and Voodoo People and it becomes a marker. Then they're like, right, yous are working. Yous on a third album. So here's all get the fucking singles going. And all of a sudden they're also playing, like his rejection of rave, he's playing completely different parties. He's now on like festival stages with more mainstream rock bands and stuff like that. So they're now digging into using more vocals. And being like, here, you, young fella, stop fucking dancing and do something with that microphone.
But I think Keith definitely wanted to do that, and he was always very vocal.
But you need
about
those
doing
people in the band, though. You need like a vibe person. Like there's Bez's, there's like people who are like, Flavor Flav turning out to be the musical genius and the whole fucking thing. But he's not doing that on stage. But the point of him, do you know what I mean? Like in the studio, they're worth their weight in gold. On stage, it doesn't work without them. It's like you have so many examples of these in bands going up to now,
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, like, the Prodigy completely grew up, like we're saying, after this. But just a couple of things on this record. The first voice on the album that says, "I've decided to take my work back underground, stop falling into the wrong hands." So, was anyone here at the J Dilla listening party we did not too long ago? Aaron, you were, yeah. Funny enough, so that and the sample that starts, what is it? Their Law. So there's a movie from the 70s called Smokey and the Bandit, which starred Burt Reynolds. And the bit at the start where he said, "What we're dealing with here is a total lack of respect for the law." That's delivered by character Sheriff Buford T. Justice, right? Yeah. But for both of these things, the first one was the Lawnmower, Pierce Brosnan in The Lawnmower Man saying it, and the second one is Burt Reynolds in Smoking the Bandit. But they couldn't clear it. So in the XL office, they were like, "What do we do?" Well, they got there was this American hanging around who was a journalist, right? His name is Dan Charnas, right? He wrote Dilla Time, the book, a definitive music book about J Dilla. So they were like, "Dan, will you come in and just use your American accent?" And so when you listen to it and go and listen to the original, they couldn't clear it. But there's actually loads of samples on this record which are very much like coming from a cinematic universe. There's a Star Wars sample on it. There is Poltergeist 3. Claustrophobic Sting there at the end, recreation of a dialogue from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Clearly XL didn't have the lawyers to clear the samples at that point, but they would later on. We discussed recently with the Avalanches and the 1,000 different samples that were on that.
Just couldn't make that record anymore.
Well, I mean, they have a special person who did it.
Well, I suppose Splice now was doing it, didn't they? They're just you can have that. Like it was a bit sticky, and now it's like, fuck it, nobody's making any money, just do what you want, like. For
sure. So less than 2 weeks after the album came out, 50,000 people marched, 50,000 ravers marched from Hyde Park to Trafalgar Square to protest the criminal justice bill. And so there really is a part of that where people were annoyed and pissed off. Their Law, you can hear it, features Pop Will Eat Itself, playing the riff on it as well. And what else did we hear on that? Couple of, obviously, okay, so Voodoo People, samples. Again, they didn't get the clearance. They didn't ask for the clearance. Nirvana's Very Ape as a riff. So I'm going to play them for you for a second, because the reason I'm going to play it, because I was reading about this last night and I was like, this is really interesting. You know the song, right? So obviously that's the Voodoo People, right? Start, right? This is Very Ape by Nirvana. So they never cleared that, right? But what they did do, they said this guy Lance Riddler apparently played the riff.
Amazing name, by the way.
So at Reading '94,
yeah, I'm Lance Riddler.
Lance Riddler, who doesn't exist. And I don't know if you know. Have you ever seen pictures? If you Google pictures of
John Batman, all right.
yeah. Well, if you Google pictures of Liam Howlett, he's wearing a Riddler top off the
You'd have to play into it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like,
So
imagine skill for that fella. Rough.
So 1994, Dave
this.
Grohl came up to them and was like, "Lads, I love the Prodigy," and they were like, "Oh, we actually re-recorded that. We didn't rip it off." So they never asked for royalties on that track, even though they definitely should have. They absolutely should have. Obviously, the other one, "No Good Start to Dance," the "You're No Good for Me," Kelly Charles, is beautiful sample.
You're no good for me. I don't need nobody. Don't
Handily
need
in a cappella
one.
mode.
That's no good for me. You're no good for me. I don't need nobody. Don't need no one. That's no good for me. You're no good boy. Don't need nobody. Don't need no one. That's no good for me. You're no good boy. Don't need nobody. Don't need no one. That's no good for me. You come around knocking at my...
Nice. I had marked this Commodore's track, and I don't remember why, so I'm just going to play it and see how it makes
There's always
sense to
time
us
for the
all.
Commodores.
Let's hear it. The assembly line. This is their law. Yeah, okay. All right, you get the picture. Like I said, Liam Howlett, very prolific, deep knowledge. He was basically a crate digger as well. He was a DJ. He knew his shit.
But he was also pushing the boundaries of what you could do with technology in that region. Like you could see his
Like he was only 22.
you could see his limitations though, right? So he's
Yeah.
in the studio and he's like, right, I have to buy and find all these fucking records. Then I have to put them into this fucking thing. But then he's cutting the work out for himself by going, the Kelly, what's her last name?
Charles.
Kelly Charles. Like that was used on loads of different rave stuff. Like same reason we hear Loletta Holloway on fucking everything. Everybody throws it on.
Yeah.
And then the ones that work are being the ones we're talking about tonight. So like everybody used that. He's just he was like, "Yeah, you had that vocal. Oh yeah, my brother had it, and there's no fucking drums on it. It's a doddle." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it was used a lot. You may have noticed there, One Love kind of just stops playing after a while there because they couldn't fit it on a CD. That's why. So the vinyl version sticks true to that. It stops after 4 minutes. There was a song called "We Eat Rhythm" on the album originally, which they took off. The album was nominated for the Mercury Music Prize, and obviously what came next was, as we said, Fat of the Land. I did mention Toytown Techno earlier on. I would say the Prodigy released their own version of Toytown Techno in 2002 when they released "Baby's Got a Temper." Do you remember that song? It had this carnival melody to it.
Yeah.
It was kind of their comeback song
Yeah.
after Fat of the Land.
Yeah.
And I think it derailed them for a while, to be honest.
Well, they were all just out the nut, full of
Yeah.
ego, isn't it? Do you know what
Well,
I mean? That stage they start wearing silly sunglasses and not talking to each other and all. And it's like the creativity goes out the window.
Yeah,
There
I
was
mean
some
the
great
lyrics
samples on
the lyrics for that song
E-Train.
were we love Rehypnol, she got Rehypnol, we take Rehypnol, just forget it all.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
So,
yeah, listen.
wasn't the best.
Noila, I was in, and we were all in fucking stupid nightclubs, and everybody, the Black Eyed Peas are shouting, "This shit is retarded," and everybody's going like that, and I was going like, "Are we allowed to fucking do this?" Do you know what I mean? So like, that was a weird time. Everybody was.
It was a weird
acting
time.
the bollocks back then.
It was a
shy,
weird
wasn't it?
time.
It was weird.
Turn of the millennium. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? I mean, the live shows are where it's at for the Prodigy these days. And like I said, Glastonbury. Was anyone at the Fairview Park gig recently? Anyone seen them recently? Like, the light show is incredible.
It was
I think
insane.
the way that they pay tribute to Keith is Keith died in 2019. Obviously, tragedy. But the way that they play his... What they do is, if you haven't seen it, they use the lights and they kind of have these lasers and the iconic like hair that he has in that tune, and they play a snippet of Firestarter, but they don't play any of his vocals really. So it's kind of just this beautiful tribute, and they are really like, you can see it means a lot to them. And obviously, I've talked to a couple of people who worked on that, the lighting of that shows in the last few years, and it means a lot to them that happens, and and to continue without him as well. He was obviously he became, like you said, a big part of it.
Man. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
he
You
was
didn't
the
think
front
of all of a sudden the
Yeah.
guy who made all the tunes. You thought, "Yeah, man, jumping around the tunnels."
Yeah. So, I mean, the other thing about it, and I was thinking about this recently, like in a way, Jilted Generation is more relevant than ever because I don't know if you've noticed, if you've been in a club recently you've been anywhere near a 20-year-old in a club, they're playing this high energy rave stuff all the time. Like after COVID, things changed completely. The sound of clubs went.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
like at the same time, did you any of you notice that there was re-releases of famous songs at double the speed?
Yeah.
Right, and everybody is like holding the story of like, come on, fast forward. That's all that shit is. They're just not no patience. I think about when I was 20, like it'd be 117, 118 BPM. Because before us came all these like nosebleed techno and trance, and they became like mad uncool. And then it was like, well, you know, Jamie Jones is playing shit at 119, and I beat this rock, and so it just comes and goes. But they're the symptom of what it is. Also, they just dressing like their parents. So what were their parents listening to?
The Prodigy.
Do you know what I mean? Or trance or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There was, you know, Sasha and Digweed and all. Like they're pushing it forward. It's just going around, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I'm sure some of you are thinking about going to see the Prodigy live in 3 Arena next year. They are amazing still, and it still stands up, and fair play. Because I think some of the later albums don't stand up in any way, but you know, fair play. They had a few classics. That's all you need in this game, I think. Sometimes
every new album just needs to have one for like radio and then a live show. You're just topping it up. I can't remember who said it. Someone was like, "You're just topping it up." It's the first 3 albums, and then after that, it's like if it kicks off, we'll put it in the set list. But why not?
Yeah. Well, it was a delight to be here with you and listen to this music for the Jilted Generation. Mango, thank you for being here as well.
Thanks for having me.
So next month we're doing a very what's more different than this? What's more different than this? Steely Dan maybe sometime soon, lads. But we're doing. Eva Barry is here. She's going to join me next month on the 27th, I think, of August. Did I say 27th? It's the last Wednesday of. I checked this earlier. I think I should know. Anyway, let's say last Wednesday of the month, and we're doing Jeff Buckley, Grace. Very different album. So yeah, we've done LCD Sound System, Prodigy, Jeff Buckley, Grace. All right. Thank you for joining us. Listen closely. We appreciate it. Thanks, Mango, for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm Niall. Thanks a mil.